going to continue with our study of Mareh Yaakov. As with every week, we're going to go over something from the Parsha that we just read in the past week, and see if we can apply the lessons that we've learned to what we've just read. So, in this week's Parsha, we have the story of Eliezer going to find a wife for Yitzchak, and one of the things that the commentaries talk about extensively is the Torah is usually very conservative in words, and yet we have Eliezer going to the well, telling his plan in completeness, so you hear his thoughts and what he was thinking and what actually happened, and then he goes and meets Lavan and his family, and he tells almost the exact same story again. So the question is always asked: why are we telling the story twice, and why are we going into such detail? And part of the answer is Eliezer needs to be convinced, and we see him being convinced that this is in fact something that's divine. And then he needs to talk to people who are the biggest non-believers in the world. And at the end of the story, they say, Shem Yatsa Davar. He comes to people who just are as far away from this concept as they can be, and they say that this is obviously something that's divine. So I wanted to look at one instance of something that's said twice, and we're gonna work out what the notes have to be in order to tell us that this is what's going on here. So he makes the plan. He says that the girl that I see, if she goes to the well, draws water, he's going to tell her, give me to drink, and then she says, not only can you drink, but I'm going to give for you and your camels. She's the girl that's been proved. But remember, the mission at the beginning is Ki al mishpachti ve'al beit avi telech. You have to go back to my family and to and to my father's house, and that's where you need to find. So is this just a general direction that he needs to go to that town, or does he actually need to find someone from that family? So he comes to the well. The first girl comes out, immediately sees him, immediately says, "Shtei adoni." She says, drink, and sees that he drinks, and she puts forward, "Gam ligmalecha eshav." I'm also going to draw water for your camels. Va'ish mishta'ela, and he's sitting there, sort of with his jaw dropped down. Macharish, and he's quiet. Ladat ha'itzleach Hashem darko ilo. To know, did God make this happen or not? So what does he say? Vayomer bat mi'at. He says, whose daughter are you? So right now, he needs to convince himself, but he's pretty sure. He's said this, and even before the thought went out of his mind, exactly what he thought is going to happen. So there's some element of confidence here, but there's also the question of, is this really the right person or not? So we want to emphasize the question. We want it to be something that is has a positive spin to it, and to see what's going to come on after this. But it's not a triumph yet, because he just doesn't know. So this is emphasis, but in the framework of general exposition. And she could be the right one or the wrong one. So, given that she could be the right one or the wrong one, we're going to start with the word at. This has got to be a two-part note, right? She could be the right one or the wrong one. And Vayomer, he's saying to her, that one has to have some positive influence and looking forward to what the answer is, but it's not an overconfident one. So it's not going to be a major emphasis note. It's going to be a pashta, which is focusing on the word looking forward to what's coming afterwards, but not, again, a major influential note, but a minor influential note. And similarly, at, we know, is going to be two-part. And whose daughter are you? That's going to separate out, is this the right person or not? So we need to separate out from the question, this could be the completely inappropriate person. He could have just had this experience that his wishes were fulfilled, and it's the wrong person. So this is going to separate out, is it the right person or not? So we have the Menachem. So sort of from the way that the story is developing with his uncertainty and who she is and who she can be, we figured out what that has to be. Now, when he tells Lavan and Betuel and all the rest of Rivka's family, the story becomes different. The story becomes Eliezer came and he wasn't sure, and every detail was perfect. She could have come and fulfilled the wishes and been the wrong girl. She could have come and been from somebody else's house. Maybe the instruction, El Beit Lech, was a generality, not a specific. But she ends up being perfect in every way. And he needs to convince them of the perfection. And we've said that there is one set of notes that tells us that we're talking about perfection. What set of notes is that? Well, we said segol. The word segol is related to skula, is related to something that comes directly from God. So this is a pausing note that tells us that we've come to something that exactly matches what it's supposed to do. And Zarka, that note, again, tells us that he's going to vacillate through, but going to come to the right conclusion, come to the conclusion that leads to perfection. And again, we see that he said it and he's telling them, I really wasn't sure, but I think it was the right thing. And who did she turn out to be? She turned out to be the perfect one. So the same phrase twice, once with Eliezer dealing with his own doubts and dealing with the perfection of the story, and once to convince somebody else that there was absolutely nothing that was wrong here, that this was so perfect that it's scary. And that's why we get Zarka Munach Segol.
That's very cool.
We'll pause there.